Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Phil.
Well, we've got another podcast today and a really interesting one as well in terms of this is Ambassador Cruise Line, and we're talking to Christian Verhounig. What do we know about them?
Well, we know that they are a fantastic cruise line and one that we really wanted to get onto the podcast because this podcast is all about for good. And it's a challenging topic in many senses. Cruise lines, airlines, they all have their place in the industry. And if they're going to exist, which they are and they do, then we need to be shining a spotlight on those that are doing it in the best, sustainable, for good way. And I think Ambassador Cruise Line really are doing that.
Yeah, we've had them on before. Well, we had them on when For Good was a magazine version.
Yes, back in the day, pre-COVID, we had For Good, so Travel For Good magazine, and Ambassador Cruise Line were in our print edition many years ago. So we've watched and followed their journey right back from when they launched, I believe in 2021, through to today. So it's been amazing to watch their journey, and we're very excited to have them on our podcast.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, we should probably get on with it.
Let's do it.
5 minutes for good.
How are you, Christian?
All good. Busy week, but thanks God it's Friday this year, right?
Well, I know. I mean, the weeks are flying by. This is, I think it's an age thing, I think, partly, but but I don't know. Monday suddenly becomes Friday, but there we are.
I have exactly the same feeling. And somehow 26 is very vibrant and keeps us on their toes. And I was just now, my daughter called me and said, "What is the plan for the weekend?" And I said, "We just had dinner on Sunday." It's not like yesterday.
Yes, I know what you mean. Well, I'm praying for a very quiet weekend, so yeah, let's hope so. And so, Christian, before we go into it, I just want to the pronunciation of your surname. Is it Verhounig?
Verhounig. Just change the V to a W, get rid of the U, and that's it.
So, welcome, Christian Verhounig, to your 5 minutes for good. Thank you for joining us on this series of the podcasts, where this time we're into our third series now, which is remarkable, really. Some great guests, and we're very happy to have you with us here today. But before we get into your 5 minutes for good, tell those who don't necessarily know you a little about yourself.
Yeah, hi, Phil, and thank you very much for having me. I'm Christian Verhounig, and I'm the CEO of Ambassador. I'm in the cruise industry for all my life. I started my career the young age of 18 as a bar waiter on board cruise ships and worked my way up. And since 2011, in the role of a CEO running cruise lines. And Ambassador Cruise Line, the latest venture, which is a new business which was created post-COVID, is by now already operating 3 ships worldwide, predominantly no-fly cruises for both British and French guests, sailing the world. So very pleased to be with you today.
Oh, well, it's a real pleasure to have you. I've been in and out since that period when you set up. So it's been great to sort of see your progression and all the good things that you've been doing as well. But it's got to that moment where I say, Christian, this is your 5 minutes. Over to you.
Well, I see, for us, the importance of protecting the native ecosystems and wildlife, supporting local communities, and the need to reduce emissions and promote sustainable practices. These sustainable travel options are becoming popular and more popular, and they're growing in demand. So this is very core to our business, what we are doing. And it started out really when we founded Ambassador and the cruise ships which we acquired and invested in. We basically are concentrating on authentic and traditional ships. We obviously offer value for money. And we've basically defined that it is much more cost effective, efficient to use older ships and to invest in them rather to scrap them and build new ones. And with this, it started really at the beginning, the choice of ships, where we obviously made sure that we have a high space ratio available, but we also that we have the right fit of ships for our demographics, and that we then invest into these vessels in order to be future-proof. And we have done so in many areas. And, if we talk on the environmental side, immediately when we purchased our vessels, we upgraded them to what is called Tier 3 compliance, which basically allows us to sail in the most remote and protected areas in the world. And we have achieved this by reducing nitrogen oxide emissions by 95%, sulfur oxide emissions by 80%. And this went on. We invested in advanced wastewater treatment system, where basically all the wastewater from the ship is being treated, and on the end of the treatment process has basically drinking water quality again. One of the biggest problems in the oceans are, or used to be, that basically food waste is getting disposed into the ocean, where actually fish were following the ships into areas where they normally would not be. So what we did, we actually implemented biodigesters, where all our food waste is converted to wastewater and hot air. And even the hot air is used to actually, for the air conditioning and for the climate control on board, to heat certain areas of the ship. And this goes on with reducing waste, not to incinerate waste at sea. We don't use single-use plastic water bottles, for example. We have a water system on board where we produce our own drinking water for guests, both still and sparkling. We bottle it on board, we deliver it on board. And when we go to places, we obviously make sure that we offer low environmental impact destination experiences as well. And this is really becoming important. Our guests appreciate these efforts. And we know that many guests are now already choosing to stay with us because they know that we are in the top 15% of cleanest ships in the world.
That's incredible. Well, Christian, thanks. It's a fascinating 5 minutes for good on so many levels. I think it's the advancements that you're making in terms of the impact that you have on the seas that is clearly the most impressive. I mean, one of the things that first struck me a while back was that you have a paint that is less resistant to the water, therefore gives you a better fuel consumption. Technology like that, I guess swimmers have it in the Olympics and things like that as well, don't they, with their suits that they wear. But then moving on into your food waste, the biodigesters. Just tell me, I'm not overly familiar with it, but ordinarily, how would that food waste be dealt with?
Right. So the first of all is crushed into smaller pieces, and then microorganisms are let go on it, which basically, eat it up, if you want to explain it like this, where the water and hot air is left of it.
Right, and that's used for the air conditioning with on board as well.
I think the cruise industry, and this is not solely to us, the entire industry is extremely looking at efficiencies going forward in the future, which many of these efficiencies, we have found out are actually reducing our impact at the same time and cost and save money. So this is where we're all concentrating on. So like special lubricated paint for the hull to reduce friction of the water, is something what is easy implemented by now. Actually is not any more costly than traditional marine paint used to be. So of course we use it, implement it. We then also make sure that throughout the year, because we always have some growth on the hull of a ship, that we clean the hull as well, because it pays back, on the way you operate and on the way you emit. And the big advantage what we have, we are predominantly focused on the 55 plus market. We have a lot of retirees with us, which means we are not forced to rush every itinerary from Saturday to Saturday for people back on Monday and work. So we actually, have a variety of longer cruises where we also use most economic speed, in order to reduce emissions there, and where we actually are limiting our speeds to achieve best results in this region.
Yeah, it's really impressive that's a great bit of technology that, and just sort of segueing onto, you have a great anti-whaling policy as well, and you have a program that helps monitor orcas. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, this is more our social and community engagement, and one of the biggest engagements we have there is with Orca, where we are a brand with a 100% anti-whaling policy, which means we are opposing all commercial whaling, which on the one hand, we started out by reviewing all our destination experiences and to making sure that we are not getting our guests in contact with whaling activities. Either is it, the consumption of whale or dolphin products, or also not offering any experience involving oceanariums. Over and above this, we feel that you have a policy and you make it public. It's one thing, but I think the engagement is the most important one. So we actually work with Orca together, where we place ocean conservationists. Sorry. I think this year it's over 700 on board our ships here, which educate our guests and our crew on the policies, on the importance of it. And at the same time, together with the guests and the crew, they collect data of sighting or feeding stations. And basically this is all going into programs which ultimately then protect those ocean mammals.
So as a passenger on board an Ambassador cruise, I would be able to go and take part in the actual monitoring of the orcas, and I mean that for me, I love that. I mean, it's a side of I guess traveling by sea that I'd never thought about. That hang on, I could actually take part in quite an important conservation act here, and actually add more to society than simply going on holiday kind of thing.
Well, it adds more to the society, and the other side, obviously, to see these ocean mammals, is very impressive. And I have spent a lot of time with them on board by myself. We have usually once a year, we have actually a cruise as well, with the CEO of Orca and myself on board as well, talking to the guests here and being there for questions and answers. And it's fun to watch as well, because usually you have hundreds of guests standing around the top deck watching, and when one sees, then obviously it starts that everybody moves to the right side, to see the same. So I think it's very impressive, to see those mammals. And of course, if you can do it for good and help to protect them, then obviously what better way than this?
I mean, from an experience perspective, when you're going on holiday, you want to have memories. And, that, what a great memory to take away with yourself.
Yeah, we know that many of our guests are engaged, and basically they came in contact through us, and they are engaged throughout life, and of course, the representatives on board, they also teach them, what to look out for to actually recognize the animals they are seeing. So, it's very fun, engaging, and you have people day and night basically watching out. And of course, taking this impressions back home with them as well, and telling everybody about it.
Amazing. I want to say thank you, Christian. It's fascinating talking to you. I know this podcast it's titled 5 Minutes for Good, so it's a short moment, really. But obviously, we could continue this conversation for hours without any doubt. But before we close, it's time to drop your guard and go a little off-piste when I ask you, if there was one thing you could do for 5 minutes that isn't necessarily for good, what might that be?
But to be very honest, I'm a passionate enduro motorbike driver, and if it would be for those 5 minutes, I think participating and winning Rally Dakar on my bike, would be my special 5 moments in my life. Yes.
Well, wonderful. Well, Christian, Verhounig, thank you. That was 5 minutes well spent.
That was 5 minutes well spent.
Well, that was rather good, wasn't it?
That was brilliant. I loved that. There's so much to take away from it. I must say, there's a starter point when we were talking about the passengers all running to one side of the cruise line to see the orca whales. I think I'd probably be running to the other side to try and balance it out.
Yeah, I know. I'd be with you there. But when Christian talks about what they're doing with such passion, I mean, I was completely grabbed by that. Things like biodigesters. I'd never really thought about the fact that waste food may have been tipped out of the back, which can obviously then draw in fish into waters that they just shouldn't really be there, which environmentally, that's not great. So by developing biodigesters and leading the charge on that, I mean, that's fabulous, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. I just think so much of what the conversation was is talking about future proofing, innovation, really thinking about the full 360 of how do you do this in the best way without cutting corners and supporting the marine life that you are part of in this industry. Yeah, it was brilliant. I really loved it.
Absolutely. I mean, also, we've got to talk about the paint. The paint helps slipstream the cruise line through the water and do a greater efficiency. I reckon if I had my own little wooden boat, I'd want to paint it with that too, just because it's a great bit of tech.
Just to go down the river in Richmond.
Exactly, yeah. But this is the thing, it's the sum of the parts, isn't it? We think about ultimately we go on holiday, and in many respects, though we do care about these things, the one thing that we really do care about is our holiday. Now, obviously on their side, for Ambassador Cruise Line, their job is to not only make sure our holiday is amazing, but also the way in which they deliver that holiday. And of course, you mentioned in the intro section that, it is a tricky part of the travel sector in terms of for cruise lines and airlines and things like that. But when you see that they're doing it in the right way and actually trying to make that difference, it makes it just a whole lot more positive for everybody in the way in which we approach these things.
Absolutely. And that's what this podcast is all about, I guess. It's, shining a light on those stories, helping to inspire others and to educate on the best ways of doing things. So hats off to Ambassador Cruise Line.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, well, nice to see you.
Bye.
Bye.